It's time again for the Throttle Up Leadership Podcast with Dr. John Dentico. The mission of our podcast is to provide 21st century leadership training for a talent-driven world. We help organizations implement strategies and practices designed to attract, hire, engage, and retain top talent while mitigating the effects of burnout. Our guests are experts in various fields of organizational dynamics, including, but not limited to, leadership, management, communication, and coaching. They bring a world of knowledge and solutions to our viewers and listeners. I am sincerely grateful for their participation and ideas. So let's dive in. And if you enjoy our podcast, please like, share, and subscribe. We genuinely appreciate your support. Hello again and welcome to the Throttle Up Leadership Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. John Dentico. With me today is Utkarsh Narang, a learning consultant, TED speaker, executive coach, facilitator, and content creator based in Melbourne, Australia. During a 16-year career, he has transitioned from being a physiotherapist to filming and editing 400-hour content for a Columbia Business School professor. His current focus is on helping individuals and teams outperform themselves. Throughout his journey, Utkarsh has learned to make fear his ally in living a courageous life. He has a passion for understanding human behavior and uses his diverse experiences to build programs for organizations across the globe. I am pleased to have him here with me today. Hello, Utkarsh. How are you this day?
I'm doing very well, Dr. John, and thank you for having me here. It's such a pleasure to be having this conversation with you. And as I was telling you a couple of minutes back, it's 6:30 a.m. in Melbourne, and I'm in the future, and the future looks really good.
Great to hear that. Yeah, it's great. I like that. That was spot on the money, as they say. So, as I like to say, let's get down to business. So let me ask this first question. If someone was to walk up to you and ask you to explain or define your idea, definition, or conception of leadership, what would you tell them?
I think leadership is something that happens, John, to us in every single moment. It's not something that once you're on that corner office on the 18th floor looking at the skyline in Manhattan, that's not when leadership really happens. So, leadership is every single moment from the moment you wake up to the moment you get back to bed and beyond. And in that every moment, I think what's really important for us as leaders, all of us, is to be highly aware of how we want to operate in that moment, but also be highly aware of how the other person wants to operate. And we want to be authentic to it, but give it our 100%, our best in leading those people, allowing them to grow while we grow along them. So that's how I define leadership. I know it seems slightly vague, but I've seen that once you start to operate with that muscle, where something truly defines you and you be that in every single moment, life actually becomes much easier.
Do you think leadership belongs to the position a particular individual has, or do you think anybody can practice
I think
leadership?
anybody can practice leadership, and it's a mindset. And a story that I often reiterate to myself and to people who I speak with is there was this one moment in the 1960s, I think, when John F. Kennedy, the then president, went into NASA and he was speaking to a janitor. And the janitor did not know that this was the president he was talking to. And so the president asks him, like, "Janitor, what do you do here?" And the janitor responds that I'm helping put a man on the moon. And I think in that moment, that's truly leadership because he's not thinking about just the mundane job that he might be doing and a very precious job, but he's thinking of the larger goal that the organization has. So in that moment, even that janitor was someone who did the right leadership skill in that moment.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I, I have been revisiting the idea of mission
Hmm.
statements. It's something I'll be honest, I shied away from for a long time. And the reason was you'd have a conversation with someone in an organization about a mission statement. And you got a mission statement? Oh, yeah, there it is. It's over
On
there hanging on the wall. And you'd say, you guys follow that? You live? No, we walk by it. It's not something that we really think about. And yet that example that you've just given is a wonderful example of everybody focused on what the mission is. Everybody focused on what we're trying to do in the
Yeah.
organization. And something I like to say is a lot of people think mission statements are for people who are outside the organization. Here, let's show the world who
Mm.
we are. Aren't we great? Love us. We're wonderful. And from where I sit, my perspective is it's really for the people inside the
Absolutely.
organization to have alignment, if you will, to what the overall goal and what the overall mission is. Any reflection on that for you?
Absolutely. And I 100% agree to that. And sometimes I use this analogy. It's the sun's rays that come on the planet every single day. They nourish us, they help plants produce the food, and we could not do without it. But if you, and as a kid, I used to love doing that in India, where I would put a magnifying glass in the way of the sun's rays, and I'll that focus that magnifying glass onto a paper, and I'd love to burn that paper. And that's something that I enjoyed as a kid. And I think that's the responsibility of a leader, John, that you got to be able to be that magnifying glass who can take the larger mission statement, who can take all the strategic, the big funnel decisions that are coming to you, and then focus it in the right direction so that then people who are working with you and alongside, and I'm not going to say that you have to be a leader from the behind, kind of pushing people forward, or you've got to lead from the front. All of that is important. But you got to help your people focus on that single statement, focus on that single mission. And as you're saying, it's a lot more internal than it's just something that's on the wall and then for the world. So 100% agree with that.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Let me ask you this. What would you say? Because I know this is an issue that's important to you. So, what would you say pose the greatest hindrances to learning in organizations? Okay. What is it, if you
Yeah.
will, in your opinion, that gets in the way of
Yeah.
learning?
I think there are a few things, John. The first thing is, I think innately and I'm not going to try and overgeneralize it, but most of the folks that I speak with, they've lost the joy in learning. The learning that used to bring you joy, learning a new skill, learning something new, new information, all that joy has now disappeared because we live in such a world that's full of distractions that the joy of learning and then the focus has gone away. The second thing is that learning has become more just a mundane job. It's a checkbox. I have to do my PD once a year. I have to do this course, otherwise the company will not promote me. And so that's what it's getting connected to. And third is the idea of learning has gone a little, in a way it's not immediately practically applicable. And I think once we feel as human beings that yes, learning is important and there's a long term growth, the brain does not think in that way. The brain wants that if I do something today, I should be able to apply it the next moment. And that's where truly learning happens. So I think the joy, the instant gratification, and then learning not becoming a checkbox. I think these are the three challenges that I'm seeing organizations and individuals play with these days.
It's interesting. I refer to as relevance
Spot
as
on.
the holy grail of
Spot on.
learning. You know what I mean? I mean, people want to learn things that matter to them now. And it is, I can tell you as a speaker, if you go around, people just no longer want to listen to your motivational tones, if you will. They want stuff that people can walk out the door with and try the next day. And I think that's so important. Well, and of course, learning is what I would call the number three requirement of people in organizations
Mm.
today. Number one being values
Mhm.
alignment. Number two being the fact that people want to do work that matters. They want their work to matter. They want a level of control and autonomy on over their own lives and learning that enhances their career. I mean, we've gotten so used to, I'll just Google it. I'll just Google it and I'll have instant gratification, as you
Yeah.
say. Instant gratification. I know I have to do something. Google just told me. And now, of course, with the advent of AI, it's even going to speed up even more. So it's very, very interesting dynamic we find ourselves in. Any further reflection on that
Yeah,
from
you're
you?
spot on. I mean, we'll chat GPT it. I'll go and ask chat GPT, how can I be a better manager? And so my kind of focus has been, and I agree that if you start to go the motivation route, people are going to get disengaged very quickly. So I think my approach is that it's going to be a human centric experience that I can create for the individual and the team. And what's important is that they should feel at the end of it that they got to connect with each other, because that's also something that's not happening enough in organizations anymore. Because hybrid, remote, even if when we are in person, the focus on the task and getting things done is so high that we forget to really check in. Who's John on the other side? If I need something from John in 6 weeks from now, should I start building a relationship right now? Or should I reach out to him on October 15 and saying, John, I need this on October 16? And I think that's what's missing right now, where the human connection, where that deep bond, where that safety, the vulnerability, we're not talking about that anymore because we feel the ROI is not high on that. But there's enough research out there and there's enough books that have been written about this that people need to understand that investing in helping your people connect, build trust, feel safe with each other, and then that common purpose. I think the ROI is a high percent on all of those.
It's interesting. I talk every once in a while about hybrid
Mm,
teams. And okay, so let's just say, let's use fifty
mm,
fifty, 50% outside the office, 50%
yeah,
inside the office. Okay, great. What are you going to do with them when they're inside the office? You know, I mean, meetings? Well, we could do a meeting here. We could do a meeting on Zoom. We could do a meeting on StreamYard, whatever software product we're using. We got the cameras. We can do that. You got to do something really different and worthwhile. And I think your point is well taken. That training where people are training and learning together really, I believe certainly. And of course, I have a dog in this hunt, as they say, because I'm a
mm,
trainer. And, the whole idea is that if you do something really worthwhile in the training environment, you can really
yeah,
increase that sense of people being together and learning
yeah,
together. And I think that's so very, very
yeah.
important. Let me move on to
Mhm.
another question. So, Utkarsh, here we are in the post-pandemic world. What changes to organizational culture have you seen in Australia? What is it that people are grappling with when it comes to shifting or changing culture?
I think we're still going through that state, John, where we went remote and everything was working fine, business as usual. We were getting things done, meetings were happening, we're going through that. And now as the world wants to come back to the office, I think the big challenge that I'm seeing here is that, do I want to be in the office or do I want not want to be? If I can get things done on Zoom, why do I have to take a commute of 2 hours and get to a physical space? The companies are also thinking that, do we really need to spend that $100,000 on that beautiful office, or can we get work done through remote? So I think the challenges are very unique and individual to each organization and each team. Having said that, the culture ultimately has to revolve around things that you and I are speaking about. So that's one part. The second thing that's also happening is that I'm seeing that the impact of the pandemic is still showing up in beautiful and difficult ways. What I mean by that is that the stress that's on the system right now to outperform, the fear of recessions, of slowing down, losing your jobs to layoffs, all of that is taking a toll on individuals and teams and making them feel the sense of burnout. This conversation around mental health is happening in louder ways, but again, what I come back to is that as an employee, as a team, as an organization, it's your responsibility. No one else's. No one's going to come and help you manage that stress. No one's going to come and help you manage that burnout because the solution looks very unique to you. One might be having two kids at home who are crying through the night, not allowing you to sleep, and you're a high performer. But now, since you have these two little kids, you cannot do well at work in the next morning. There will be others who are now wanting to see that, oh, can I travel the world? And they're not fully focused on work. And then there are others who are wanting to go through the hoops and get to that ladder and grow on that. So I think the challenges are very unique. And every time I speak to a different person, I'm seeing something new emerge. But at the root, I still come back to that same thought, that who are you as a person? What are your values? What are you really showing up into this world as? And I think that's where the solution then lies, John, is what I truly believe.
Yeah, I saw a notification
Mm,
today on one of the messages that came across my desk that Price Waterhouse
mhm,
Coopers is now going to insist that the people show up in the office more often than they are. I think they were saying 2 days. They're going to move to 3 and even
yeah,
more days. And what they're saying is we need more quote unquote customer
mhm,
contact. I'm not so sure. I'd like to see what they mean by customer contact. I mean, people can still get on Zoom and customer contact
mhm,
that way. But I think there is this
yeah,
struggle that is going on that I see in the world of
mhm,
leadership. And that is this. the hybrid is pulling away and redefining leadership, helping to redefine it, not on its own, but helping to redefine leadership as much more of an influence relationship, leadership being an influence relationship. And I think there is this desire to go back to more of the command and control perspective, and the way you do that is you get people in a building so that you can see them and you can talk to them every day. So there's going to be this very uneasy struggle, tension, if you will, between the changing forces of leadership. That being more of an influence relationship as opposed to a command and control perspective.
Yeah.
Any ideas, any
Yeah.
thoughts on that from your
See, the
perspective?
other challenge, John, that I feel is like, and I've done these facilitations and trainings with organizations. There was a time when I would have the client request, like, Utkarsh, can we do a hybrid model? And I'd be like, it'll not work, because here there are 4 people in that same workshop who are on Zoom, and there are 15 people, 20 people standing in front of me in the room. How do I create an experience where all of them feel that I've served them well? And so hybrid in a training does not work. Now imagine a meeting. It's a boardroom meeting. You have 6 people who've showed up in the office, 4 are online. 2 out of them don't have their videos on, are grappling with something, maybe they're cooking food, or even driving, if you will. And how can we have our best be showed up in situations like these? So I think a solution will emerge to all of these. I sometimes feel either do something fully virtually and I'll give you an engaging experience and we'll have a great time, or do it fully in person. Don't try to mix 2 things. That's one. Second, I think even the hybrid or the virtual model, imagine me having this conversation, John, with you and not having my video on. You're going to be like, what the hell, Utkarsh? You're not even present to me. And so that's not going to work. Imagine me picking my phone up and saying that, oh, I'm so busy on my phone all the time during the meeting. It's not going to help. It's not going to help connect. And so the influence, the trust, the connection, everything you and I are speaking about is going to go down the drain if people are not taking these individual choices. I've had webinars where I would call out at least 4 times, not to a specific person, but just to the room, that please have your videos on, because it's always nice to see smiling faces rather than read those names. But it's still hard for some people. And some would be in situations where they cannot, but others are just choosing to disengage. And again, comes back to, what are you choosing as an individual? What are you choosing as a leader? Are you the leader who you want to be led by? Or are you someone who's just, just getting paycheck to paycheck and showing up for just the number of hours and just the number of assignments that you've been given?
Yeah. I was telling the president of a company the other, you get what you accept. So, a- and and you have to decide what is you're going to accept. So, for example, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, if we're going to do everything hybrid, fine. Let's just everybody do hybrid. Hope everybody turns their videos on, but I'll be here with my video on so you can
Yeah.
see me. I just did 3 of those a little while back. It seemed to work fine. Okay. It was all hybrid. But then I did an in-person one a few weeks ago where I had to go to Texas actually to do it. And it was great. Everybody was in the room. There was a lot of energy. We all had dinner together a couple of nights. It's the whole social thing that really brought people
Absolutely.
together. And so I agree with you. I think when you do partial this, depending on what you're
Yeah.
doing, if it's a meeting, you might get
Yeah.
away with it. If it's a training, it's going to be hard to
I
get
agree.
away with it because you really need, especially if you're doing relevant things where you need participation by people in an exercise or something of that nature. So, yeah, good observation. Let's talk a bit about burnout, okay? A subject I have focused on for the last year. So, let me ask you this. From where you sit, being a former physiotherapist, what advice can you give to my listeners and viewers about avoiding or mitigating the effects of
Yeah.
burnout?
I'll keep it very practical, John, because I don't want to give some fluffy answers to this question, because it's a very, very specific question. I think the first one that starts with is just structure and organize yourself a little better every day. What I mean by that is that there's this quote by Abraham Lincoln where he says that if I had to chop down a tree, I'll spend the first 4 sharpening my axe. And I think that's what we all have to do. We have to start our days with a rigorous amount of planning that has to, and take 15 minutes. You don't have to take like an hour to plan your day. Just take 15 minutes. That what does my day look like? If there are going to be meetings back to back, how can I squeeze in like a 15-minute walk? How can I squeeze like a proper lunch that's not done on the desk? I think creating these spaces for yourself is going to be the first step where you can start to reduce the effect and impact of burnout on you. Second is, take good care of your physical, mental, emotional health by investing in something that allows you to feel better. That could be going for a workout, that could be meditation, that could be journaling, that could be sitting under a tree and watching the apple fall like Isaac Newton, whatever that looks like for you. But find that time where you can just zoom out from the work and practically disconnect. One thing that I was kind of, and I'll come to the third one, but one thing I was kind of really getting bothered by, John, and feeling really overwhelmed. And so I reached out to my coach and said, I'm just screwed up. Like there's something wrong with me that I'm unable to figure things out. And we spoke about it. And what I realized was that this Apple Watch was giving me notifications every time something was happening on my LinkedIn or my Gmail. And I did not realize it because it was happening so naturally. Till about last year, they were maybe 5 or 10 a day, and I was okay with that. But now the number was about 50 or 70 or 80 a day. And I did not realize that it was causing me any challenge. But then when I was having that coaching conversation, I realized that if I could disconnect my watch from my phone, that would be one big step. And just doing that over the last two months now, approximately, has just liberated me. So I think that's been really helpful. The third thing that I want to share is that take care of your sleep, because we sometimes compensate on the sleep by looking at our Instagrams, by watching Netflix, which is competing very beautifully with our sleep, or by our work. And that ends up taking our cognitive abilities much lower than what it is. So have a schedule. If that looks like 12 to 7, that's okay. Sleep at midnight. If that looks at 10 to 4, that's okay. Find that. But create these structures around your day and build that awareness where everything's happening. The final thing that I want to share is that one thing that my colleague did to me a few years ago, I was leading a team of over 20, 25 people. And it was a really challenging time because people leadership does not come with just joys. There's a challenge as well. And what she did was she took a post-it note and she wrote on it, breathe. And she just stuck it on my desk, on my computer screen. And every time I would see that, I'll take a deep breath. And just that kind of relieves all the pressure, all the stress. And these are all starting points. I'm not going to solve anyone's burnout today, but I think they'll help our listeners.
Yeah, it's interesting you should say that. A couple of things I'd like
Mhm.
to note. One is I had a guest by the name of Joy Meserve on several weeks ago, and she said something I thought was really right on the money, and that is we were talking about coaching. She's a professional coach. And I said, and I asked her a question. I said, do you think it makes sense for a coach, a company to hire coaches
Mm.
to help people, maybe during a burnout period when they're approaching burnout? Because as I think we both know, it's not an instant. It doesn't happen
Correct.
overnight. It's a slow process. You kind of get
Yeah.
there. And of course, she said, yeah, it's great because sometimes all people need is an ear to vent on, is for someone to just let me get this off my chest. I'm dealing with this problem at home, whatever might be going on, or this seems to be down on me, or
Mm.
whatever, different things like that. But the idea is that coaching could really help
Yeah.
people get through that. The second thing, and I've really spent more of my time looking at the
Mm.
implication of leadership as it relates to burnout. And one of the things that I've come up with, one of the things is this notion of people wanting to be involved in the decision-making processes. That people want to be creative and they want to have a say in their lives and do meaningful work. And to me, as I've looked at this, I've thought what we really are driving at are leadership models, leadership ideas that allow people to do that, that allow people to become more involved in the decision making processes in the organization. So you feel like you have control on your life. Okay. And I agree with you. I would just take it a little bit different direction. The most powerful force on earth, according to Albert Einstein, is
Mm.
imagination. Okay. Everything we do begins and ends with an idea. And I agree with that. Yet also, it leads to, for me, it leads to this notion of
Mm.
creativity. Okay. And one of the things I'm finding as I look at burnout is if people take the time to do something creative, you called it getting your day in order. Okay, that could qualify at the end. But things like take a cooking class, do an archaeological local dig, do something where you energize that creative spirit in your soul and in your mind really helps people mitigate the effects of burnout. You have an outlet, you have a place to go and and actually do something
Yeah.
different and energize creative, which I think helps, really does help to
Yeah.
alleviate the notion of burnout. Any reflection on
No,
that
love
from
that.
you?
I think that's a great idea. On the first one, I think coaching is a powerful tool. And the first time I was introduced to it, John, my idea was like, I'm not going to sit and talk to someone about my inner life on a Zoom call. And this was back in 2017. But never did I imagine that I would one day become a coach. I think what that does is that the venting, when nudged in the right direction, allows you to move away from the emotion turmoil that you're going through, and clarity emerges. I think that's the power of coaching. On the creative thing, absolutely 100% I agree. I think it's just about finding a way to disconnect from work in ways that allow you to feel more human and more full. And once you find that, I think yeah, burnout is something that we can all yeah, grapple with and hopefully eliminate from our lives.
Yeah, and the other side of burnout, which I mean, you just alluded to it, is when work becomes the escape, in the sense that you may be having problems at home. There may be issues at
Yeah.
home that you're trying to deal with. Someone's
Yeah.
sick, or as I like to say, someone got picked up by the police because they were out drunk last night, a child or whatever. And now you have to deal with these, and work can be that creative
Yeah.
energy. You go to work, you've got a great, probably, hopefully, you've got a great
Absolutely.
environment, and you go to work, and people are there to help you over that
Yeah.
particular hump, if you will. So it depends on where the burnout's
Right.
coming from, what direction, where's the burn coming
Correct.
from, in a manner of speaking. I think people have to kind of make that decision for themselves, but there are ways that you can take a
Yeah.
step back, take a breath, and then figure out where you want to go. And I have to add this because one of the guests just came out cold and said it to me. And that is, if you're in a toxic environment, there may be no other alternative but to leave. Is just, I can't do this anymore. I just can't do it anymore. And know that you'll be
Yeah.
fine. You'll be on the other side. You'll
Yeah.
be fine. It's a very difficult choice for people to make. It's a very personal choice for each person.
Nice.
We'll see how things work
Yeah.
out for those. So let me ask you my last favorite question, because we're getting to the end here. And that is simply this: if you had a magic wand and you could wave it at any problem or issue that you see, what would be that problem and why did you choose
Yeah.
that?
When you ask this question, part of me wants to say that let's make learning the core of our existence and become lifelong learners and embrace this growth mindset. And all of that was top of mind for me. That's going to be the right answer. But as we're speaking about everything that we've spoken about today, John, I think if I would to be able to use that magic wand and be like Harry Potter or someone, I would want each one of us to work on our values and come up with a list of values that are individual and yet serve the larger goal. And I know we're at the end and we could maybe have another full conversation about values, but I've operated in life with these five values: discipline, excellence, freedom, growth, and love. And in every moment they serve me, and I look at them and I choose and express them in the right intensity and magnitude. And I think if I could do that magic wand, I would want every human being to be able to find what's important to them, find their values, and then lead lives that are based on those values that bring tremendous impact to them as individuals, their teams, their organizations, and the universe.
It's a great answer. Absolutely fabulous answer. And we know that people are searching for a value-based
Yeah.
organization. We know that this is a primary desire. I was talking to Nikal Raval from India on one of my
Mm.
podcasts, and he hit me with this one line. I said, "Yeah, I had to go clear across the universe, clear across the world to get this this phenomenal tidbit of information. And what he said is that meaning is the new money. Meaning is the new money. And people are looking for meaning in their lives. They want to have a sense that they are aligned with others, with an organization based on values. So your answer is absolutely right on the money. Utkarsh, I can't thank you enough for your time today and for your desire and willingness to be on the Throttle Up Leadership Podcast. I appreciate it so much. I wish you all the success in the future. May good things come to you in abundance. Thank you so very much for your time. I wish you a great
Thank
day.
you so much for having me. It was a joy to have this conversation with you. And hopefully, each one of us in our beautiful ways can push humanity forward by 1 inch every single morning.
That's great. I hope so too. Thank you.